So the age-old question probably in your house, as it is in my house, is what's for dinner? What does that got to do with nails? Well, I'm rummaging around inside the freezer looking for something for dinner, and I caught my nail on something, even though it's a short little nail, in a corner and bent it and bruised it, and it really, really hurts. So I took a look at it after I found the chicken and maybe had a little bit of ice cream because I was looking for the chicken. And I found a bubble. It's very slight. It's hard to see. Let's see if you can see it. I've circled it so you can see it. During this video, we're going to dig it up and I'll show you why we need to get rid of it, why it's so important you find it, get rid of it, and move on. Let's get started. Okay, so I can feel it's bruised. Now, not necessarily every time you bruise your nail or bang it, you're going to get a bubble. But this one, I wrenched it pretty good. So what I'm going to show you is how we get it up and why it's so important to get it up. You guys ever heard of Greenies? It's called Pseudomonas. That's the proper name. But the Greenies is what we all call it because we can all relate to it. And that is where a bubble like this goes unnoticed, or we have a bubble in there and put more product on top. And the bacteria, the moisture, and the dirt gets trapped in there and it can fester. And it's a bacteria that grows inside there and creates what we call Pseudomonas, or hence known as the Greenies. But this came up, so I thought, hey, cameraman, get downstairs. We're going to shoot a video. Right now, you can't see it. So in that photo, in the very beginning, I did circle it. So I'm going to show you again. See, I'm going to point this bit, the tip of the bit is in the center of the white bubble. So the white bubble is about this size. Can you guys see it in there? Now, if these nails were colored or glittered or a full color gel or acrylic, you couldn't see it at all. We are lucky that this is see-through, that I can actually see it. Now, I'm not saying you got to get it up right away, right? You don't have to, clean it up and get rid of it, like go to the nail technician right away or file it off yourself right away. It's going to take a few days for it to fester if there's bacteria, if there's moisture in there trapped to actually even start it. It may never happen at all. But if it did, we wouldn't be able to see it if it was covered acrylic. You just know that you kind of bruised your nail. And maybe when you went into the nail technician a couple weeks later, if they're filing and they didn't notice the bubble and take it up and then, disinfect and move on and do more acrylic, which would eliminate the problem. It would never happen because the proper procedures would be in place and it wouldn't happen. But if they didn't see it and they just applied more product on and it was growing more and more and more, it's going to become a problem. So you can see it's a little bit involved, but I'm trying not to go there because I'm just trying to get this bubble up. So that is where the bubble is there. And to prove that, now I'm going to file it to show you that bubble is in there. We may find the bubble is not very deep. Like we may have to pry it up a little bit to get the acrylic up, but it's definitely starting the lift. So let's file it and see what we come up with. So I am going to be filing with my opposite hand. This is not the hand I normally work on for the videos, but I will say when you are filing with your opposite hand, I'm not that good. I'm not ambidextrous. I can barely say it. So I sometimes will move my finger. So hold this hand stationary and just move your finger, especially if you're right-handed. This will be a little bit easier to do. It's easier to move your finger than to move the drill. So what I'm doing is just taking off that top layer of foil I had on there. It's so cute. I really did like that. I don't know if you can see this bubble even a little bit more now. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to thin it out a bit and see if the bubble pops up even clearer. I've always wanted to do this video to show you guys, but do you know how hard it is to catch a client who's getting a bubble and then try to get her to come in and then do, it's just not going to happen. So I am kind of excited that I made this boo-boo and looking for the chicken. Okay, so look at that. You can see it. Can you see it now? Tell me, cameraman, can you see that clearer now?
I can see this white area.
Yeah, that's it. That's the culprit. See that white spot, you guys? That's the bubble. And now it's really starting to come up a little bit clearer. So how this works is this. That little bubble is surrounded by acrylic. Generally, when you do a little crack like this, sometimes a crack can be there too. And it's so microscopic you can't see it. But a little little escape way will be in there. If you blew it up, you'd see a little pathway to the exit of the nail, which would allow water, moisture, and maybe bacteria, and maybe dirt, if you're a gardener or anything like that, get in there, and that's what can fester to create the greenies. Right now, it's innocent. It's very, very innocent. Nothing's going on here. It's not up to any nasty business, but we don't want it to. So let's say you just finished having a nail fill, and you went in to find the chicken, and you were filing it. You broke it inside the cup. You snapped it like that. You wouldn't know that you did it unless you bruised it. That's all you'd know is that you bruised it. You'd go another 3 or 4 weeks in between fill, and all this time it could be festering and you didn't even know. This time I could see it, so I knew, and I could feel it too. It was pretty bruised. So how do we take care of this? You need to file this off. You need to take the bubble up, get rid of the bubble, and fill it in with new stuff. It's really as simple as that. But I just want to show you how much of this bubble do we need to file up. Now, I got to tell you, from a nail technician's point of view, bubbles are a pain in the butt to file. They really are frustrating. A lot of nail technicians will avoid it. And the reason is this. It's hard to file in one spot for too long because when you're filing, the rotation of the drill bit is going round, and the friction is causing heat. And if you stay in one spot for too long, you're going to burn the client. And we don't want to do that. But you're trying to file in the one spot because that's what you're trying to get up, is the one spot bubble. So the idea of, see how I'm feathering? Go like that. Right now it's a little bit thicker, so I can file across. I'm just kind of thinning out the whole thing. So what I do is don't file the bubble. The bubble's already lifted. You want to file around the bubble. So right now I'm just filing the whole nail thinner. I'm just taking the whole nail down. And sometimes you'll get lucky and the bubble will just lift off. This is getting down to the nitty-gritty now. Now, some people might not file it off because they really don't know the importance of it. So hopefully this will help them understand how important it is to file up any bubbles. Some people call it a pocket lift. Back in the day, we never had names for this stuff. We just called it a bubble. Whoop, see, look at that. It just flapped open. The bubble is starting to lift. It doesn't really hurt. I did bruise it a little bit, so it feels a little tender, but nothing's really hurting. So I'm going to switch my bit here. And I'm just going to go with something a little teethy, but a little more gentle in that respect, because that one's see that? It's pretty chunky, right? So it's really getting down to carve through a lot of stuff. But this one's a little bit finer, but still very teethy. See that? So now I'm going to get to the edges of the bubble. So now I'm going to kind of get down. I'm still going over top of the whole thing, and sometimes it'll just lift the bubble up. So sometimes oopsie, I went the wrong way. How many times have I done that? It's so funny. So if you find it's a bigger bubble, you can just get another bit, the edge of the bit, and just go around and separate it from where it's actually joined. There's no point in filing over top of a lifted area over and over and over and over. It's already up. You want to go around it. But if a small one like this, sometimes you can just file over top of it. We caught it like such in the early stages, not even causing a problem. So what I will do is, for aesthetics value, I will file up all the white area and make sure that there's no, I'm just going around the circle now. See that? See that white little lifted around the circle? I'm just taking up all the lifted area. I'm blending it with the rest of the finger. Rest of the nail. That's looking pretty good. Okay. So all I will do at this point is buff up the cuticle, buff up the natural nail, and I'll disinfect it. You can spray it with alcohol or whatever cleanser you're using, and then just apply the acrylic or the gel as you normally would. Now it's all taken care of. There's nothing to worry about. It's a very innocent bubble. I'm just a little bruised, that's all. But an advanced bubble, if that was there for a couple of weeks and there was a little entry point for the germ and the moisture to get in there, Then it might turn a little yellowy. That's kind of the first stage, like a mustard kind of dirty yellow. Then in more of an advanced stage, it can go kind of a greeny yellow. Now it's getting a little bit thicker. It's not a mold. It can look like the way some people will call it a mold. It's not a fungus either. It doesn't hurt, doesn't smell unless you bruised it. That's a separate issue. It'll turn kind of a bluey green at more advanced stage. Then it can get a little deeper and go into the natural nail. Then it can go to the last icky, gross stage. It's kind of a black blue color and it's actually quite moist around there. Yuck, it's gross. And then you want to take that off. And I would let that kind of breathe for a bit. But if it's a very surfacey, like the yellowy, greeny, sometimes you can buff that off. And once it hits the air, it's kind of neutralized. It doesn't really fester up anymore. And then you can put some product on it. And if even it's a bit stained, you can still put the product on it and it will grow off. But if it's really advanced and it's weakened the natural nail, I wouldn't put anything on it. Just give it some time. Let it kind of rest a little before you put any product. Whenever you put another fake nail on top of a weakened foundation, it is kind of more of an opportunity for it to break again. Okay, so this was a very innocent little bubble. I think we're good to go. I'm just going to buff up the cuticles and I'm going to fill it. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys learned something about the Greenies. An innocent bubble as it was, we're not in any trouble. Thanks for joining me. Catch you guys in the next one.